Hey everyone, so Playing for the Planet Season 4 continues, and we're back here in the very cosy confines of the YouTube studio here at Sky HQ, which we've decked out in a whole bunch of apparel. We'll explain that later. I have made the admittedly quite questionable decision of having a chat with a man who is far younger, far better looking, and far better dressed than myself. Nevertheless...
Is this why you told me to dress down today? Is that it?
Just give me a chance, Brett. Dr Brett Staniland. Brett, first of all, just how are you? It's been a while since I last saw you. How's
yeah, all good. We're keeping busy, but all good things, and it's nice to be talking about football and how it relates to my job for a change.
Well,
nice.
First of all, let's tease that out. So you've got roughly around 100,000 followers on Instagram. Some of the posts that you've put on on TikTok have racked up millions of views. Can you just tell us a bit about yourself and your career, and then we'll get into the football link?
Yeah, sure. So it sounds funny saying this, but it all kind of happened by accident. And I'm very, very lucky to be where I am. But essentially, went to university, played football all my childhood, all the way through. Went to university, played football there. And then it was while I was studying that I got scouted to become a model. And then, a couple of years after that happened, I've kind of finishing uni. And then just kind of explored so many rabbit holes to do with clothing and garments, like what they're made from and where they're made. And that literally opened so many doors in terms of like self-education and wanting to know more and more stuff. But it kind of, I was walking down the street one day and someone says, "Oh, are you a model?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Do you want to be?" And I was like, sure. And then,
that really is by accident.
I grew up in Derby, so we didn't really have access to a fashion industry as much. But it was just one of those things. And a couple of weeks later, I was in a set doing a shoot.
Maybe Derby is the next Milan or Paris.
Derby's the place.
Maybe you are, putting those first few building blocks in place.
Yeah, it was just laps around Pride Park that got me through.
There you go. That's why you're in such good nick. And actually, talking about Pride Park, this is the relevance for us here at Sky Sports, right, is that you are a massive Derby County fan. Well, I know it's tough yards at the moment, Brett, but talk to us a little bit about following the Rams as well.
It's always like rooted in chaos, I think. It's been... I think since I've been alive, I've always seen us as better than Forest, and now I've had to kind of swallow that pill this year.
Oh, and then some. And the medicine.
Yeah.
And the antibiotics.
It's been quite tragic.
Yeah.
But growing up, great memories, like early years in the Prem, Jim Smith, and all that stuff. Some really good memories of like Old Trafford with Malcolm Christie, nicking the ball from underneath Barthez.
Oh, yeah.
That was massive.
Forgot about
and he got
that.
disallowed, and it was his hat-trick and all that.
Yeah.
And then a good time at Wembley with Giles Barnes against West Brom, who played great all game, and then we beat them. And then on the opposite side of that, going to Wembley, I had a couple of mates in the team and us losing the last minute to Bobby Zamora's goal. That was just heartbreaking, really, really tough. Yeah. And since then...
Playoffs are just...
And we, for some reason, we always had to go through the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, we've had some good times with Lamps and some other gaffers that have come in. But now it's been tough.
Any particular moment as a Derby fan that really sticks in your mind? Or even a player?
Oh, a player. Do you know what? He's a mate, but I loved Keogh. Richard Keogh. Such a great guy at the club. Proper dad of the club.
Yes. So stalwart.
Yeah. Probably put his arm around a lot of players and was there a lot. He played a lot of games for us and was always really trusting, reliable. We won't talk about Wembley. But yeah, he was such a good guy for us, and I think seeing Will Hughes come through and do really well in the Premier League now, I think that's a nice player. That he's always he's Derby County to us. Yeah. So I think it's those guys.
But Will's proven himself. Watford, Palace, and the rest.
But growing up, I will say Iranio. Stefano Iranio was big. We also had some good Italians. We had in fact, we had a load of ex-AC Inters for a little while. Aliosa Stanovic came, Taribo West came, Benito Carboni, Ravanelli.
Oh, Carboni.
They were,
Oh, Carboni.
What a player. But Ravanelli was the one, when we signed him, opened Pride Park, he was he's going to take us far. I think we were still paying his wages about 5 years after he left.
No, but, you've got to take your chance, roll the dice a bit. Okay. As you know, Brett, the main focus of this year's Green Football campaign is apparel, circularity, trying to save kit, keep it going for longer, eke out the value, those sorts of things. So you're a really good person to speak to about this because one of your passions is really tackling the fashion industry's impact on our planet. So first of all, can you just sort of explain to us broadly just how damaging the fashion industry can be for the world that we live in, and things like climate change, all the way from like haute couture and those, you know, those runways, Paris Mile, etc., all the way down to fast fashion?
Yeah, I think it's something that's really, really underappreciated, I think, and not a lot of people do actually, you know, peek their head around the curtain and have a look at how bad it is. So there's predictions that the fashion industry accounts for about 8 to 10% of all global emissions, which is more than flights and maritime shipping combined.
Wow.
So it's massively pollution, like heavy. It's also responsible for about 20% of all industrial wastewater across the world, just fashion. So straight away you're thinking, if we can change this a little bit, it can have a massive impact on global emissions, climate change, net zero, 1.5 degrees. And then we understand now that there's about 8-ish billion people on Earth, and every year we are making between 100 and 150 billion items of clothing.
Yeah, I remember when I heard that, and I was just like, do we need to make as much
crazy.
stuff?
It's crazy. And obviously, there's a lot of people that don't have 50 or 100 items a year, which means that some people will have 200 or 300 items a year. And when you understand that balance, it's just bonkers.
I mean, obviously, sportswear is part of fashion. In fact, not only that, here's my own little stat here, but the sportswear industry is expected to continue to grow faster than fashion overall this coming year. So that's things like sporting goods, athleisure, outdoor wear. Do you think that sportswear has acknowledged that it has a responsibility? And also, given that it's just going to grow and grow and grow, can it be sustainable?
I think for me, it's something that's never really acknowledged, because we talk about clothing in the fashion industry a lot, and we're always under the guise of, you know, we need to produce and consume less. We've got brands who are saying, oh, we're going to opt in for degrowth, you know, make less stuff, turn into more circular fashion businesses. And at the same time, I'm like, some football teams have like 4 kits this year, and they're selling millions and millions and millions of them every single year. And kind of in a trendy way, similar to fashion, we have spring, summer, autumn, winter. Football teams have a new kit every single year. It's just growing and growing and growing. And I think it's a problem that isn't really properly acknowledged.
Are things at least starting to change a little bit? And the reason I ask this question is because here's another little stat. Challenger sportswear brands generated more than 50% of the segment's economic profit in 2024. So Challenger sportswear brands, that's people like On, particularly with their trainers, Hoka, however you pronounce it. Do you think that attitudes are changing amongst consumers?
I think the first thing you'll see change is materials. I don't think we'll see brands like saying, oh, we need to make less or sell less or produce less. The next thing that will be like the new innovative thing is the change in materials. But it is actually nice to see the brands like On, Hoka, Tala, Aloe, all these Adenola, like all these like kind of smaller independent brands take a bigger chunk of the market share, because it's like, are we actually sick of the big sportswear brands actually just having the entire market? And I think it's nice also to see ambassadors for these brands be like a little bit, I don't want the big Nike deal or whatever it is. I'm actually going to go and put my money behind a smaller independent brand who cares about things that I want to care about. I think
the thing that made On stand out was, first of all, Roger Federer. Right?
Also, unbelievable deal from him.
And also, it just fits.
It fits. It's perfect. Yeah. Like the aesthetic, the Swissness. And it was like, it's just the perfect, elegant fit for him. But then immediately you think it's authentic. Like it's great. And we can buy into authenticity.
You mentioned actually sort of materials and stuff, Brett. Like you'll be much more of an expert than I am. And I know you've done, research into this, and you said, down a rabbit hole, and, a lot of it self-taught. But what do you think are the areas where significant advances can be made? Any materials which might feature more strongly in future that are just a bit better for the planet, that tread lighter on the planet than the ones that we normally use?
Easily the very, very first, very easy step all brands could do is go to recycled plastic. What most of them will do first is go to recycled plastic bottles because it's cheaper and it's easier, but it's not the best solution. It's kind of like this misnomer that people are, oh, recycled plastic, great. I'm like, that bottle would have been better becoming another bottle and another bottle. Whereas as soon as you weave it into a fabric, it loses its recyclability.
Right.
But the next step after that is recycled plastic from textiles.
Okay.
So we have loads of textiles already made from recycled plastics.
Yeah.
We can just keep making them into football shirts, whatever they might be.
Yeah.
That will have a massive impact on emissions, huge impact on waste, because we're then cancelling stuff that would go to landfill or shed microplastics in oceans.
Yeah.
They'll be the first steps, huge impact, and could be done really quickly. And I think the industry will do them quite quickly.
And you make mention of something there that is really important, the sort of link between planetary health and human health, right?
Yeah.
Because, through plastics and microplastics and, even you hear in things like tea bags
Yeah.
and stuff like that, how much we're ingesting, how much is already in our systems. Because we're trying to get people to, care about this conversation,
Yeah.
right? And it's whatever lever you can pull. Sometimes it's a health lever. Sometimes it's a simple money lever. How much money can you save by being less wasteful?
Yeah, I found online with creating content around this, my main job is actually to find everyone's touch point. So for a lot of people, it might be animals. And they'll care. I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand buying from this brand anymore because they harm animals in making their stuff.
Yeah.
For other people, it's the planet, environment. They're like, I care about global warming.
Yeah.
Perfect, cool,
Yeah.
dead easy sell.
Yeah.
But for others, it's connecting them with another human being.
So the founder of Hilo Athletics, a guy called Michael Doughty, used to play for QPR in the Prem and played in the EFL, I suppose what it is now. And he said to me, we need to make climate, or this subject as a whole, emotional. And I thought about that. I was like, that's so true, because people connect with emotion. And it's even beyond that, make it resonant, relevant, personal.
Yeah.
And it's what you've just said,
Exactly.
connecting people to people and being feeling something as a result of that. And then you're starting to get somewhere. Actually, speaking of Hilo, and let's just have a look at the stuff that we've got around us.
Yeah.
So Hilo Athletics, Patrick Bamford from Leeds is an investor. Michael Doughty's his mate. He played football as well, obviously, as I mentioned. They've got and you've got some of these, I think. These really lovely new trainers. These are called the Hilo Impact. Super light, super sustainable. I can't go through the list of natural things they use, like castor beans and stuff, which absolutely blows my mind.
All sorts.
I
remember getting
They're
mine
mega, aren't they?
and seeing that it was something like 0.1% of it was plastic. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's possible. We can do it. It's here.
So Forest Green Rovers behind me.
Yeah, great.
That's the famous coffee grounds and plastic bottles, recycled plastic bottles shirt. So that was one of the latest ones that they did with Player Layer. Okay, talk to me about what's behind you. You've got a Sheffield United shirt behind you. I don't know. How did I allow that in the studio?
I know.
What? Okay, so
I slipped under the rug because it's like the away one.
Right, okay.
But yeah, I grew up with Ben Osborne. I think we were like 7 years old, playing at Derby together first, and then Forest.
Yeah.
And he obviously went on to have an amazing career.
Yeah.
But for my birthday, my sister thought it'd be funny to get him to sign a shirt like we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And
then you got
that's his FA Cup shirt.
Okay, what's with the sheep?
So this one is the AFC Wimbledon shirt, and it was a collaboration with Warm and Wonderful. So there's a really famous picture of Princess Diana in a red woolly jumper with loads of sheep on it, and it was by the brand Warm and Wonderful.
Right.
And the founder, the owner now of that brand, is a friend of mine, and they did a collab with Wimbledon. But they issued the shirt and then weren't allowed to wear it by the league because it was like a bit too busy with the pattern. And so,
tell you what, do you know what? That would fly in Spain. Yeah. In Spain, they'd love it. They'd be like, yeah, go for your life.
Add some tiger stripes on there as well. So yeah, that was the shirt that never got worn by the players, but they did wear an iteration of it with the Warm and Wonderful sheep on it.
I love it. Oh.
So yeah, it's quite unique, and I just love it. It's just bonkers, but it's great.
Also behind you, Brett, so that is an actual Lionel Messi-sized boot. It's his left boot, you can see, and it is made out of reclaimed plastics from the ocean. The organisation is called Join the Planet. Messi is an ambassador for them. All the money raised from selling these, because obviously they're precious, they're limited edition, go to the Join the Planet Foundation, who then use those funds to clean up the Paraná River in Argentina, where Messi's from, because that's the kind of course he's chosen.
And it's got a QR code on it as well.
QR code, which then you can check everything. It's all very traceable through blockchain. You can see where it's all come from, etc., etc. So,
incredible.
This stuff is happening. I think it just makes me think about the power of the football shirt. We think about even we talked before about Arsenal, the No More Red campaign, which was really trying to attack a big issue in North London, and how they used the shirt to really highlight that, because it is the focal point. It's the thing we look at all the time in the stadium, on TV.
Yeah,
it's got such an incredible kind of soft power, doesn't it?
Yeah. If there's like something not right about a football shirt, everyone notices. Whether it's like, oh, you've not got the right FA Cup badge on. Like, it was like, why are Man City wearing that FA? Like, we noticed straight away. So to do that is so striking. And watching a team play in like a completely monochrome kit it doesn't ever happen. I think there was a team, I think Seb Larsson went back to Sweden and played for a team who had a completely black kit, and I was like searching where I could get one from because it looked so cool.
Yeah.
But when it's got a strong message behind it, it's like that added layer of like, we've all kind of accidentally researched something and learned about it.
I just wonder also, when I think about the football shirt, and we mentioned like, you know, the main title sponsor, right? Could you see a future where a decent sized or even big team, let's think big, a big team decides to effectively give away this prime real estate with where the sponsor sits to a truly, genuinely, authentically sustainable brand? Think of like a Patagonia or a Polestar or even B Corp, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine it? Because what a statement that would be, right?
I think there has to be room for it, because when I think of the big Barcelona team, like Barcelona didn't have a sponsor for years when I was growing up. Then they had UNICEF.
Yep.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Like, if they want to put a good cause right in the middle of their football shirt, it's possible. I think having something like Ecotricity on the front of the Forest Green Road shirt, obviously it's Dale, so it's great.
Yeah.
Other football clubs can surely follow. And if like Ed Sheeran can sponsor Ipswich, like the other night we saw like all of his mathematical signs on the front of the shirt. It has to be. I think it's something that we can incentivise for football teams.
Right.
And I think it'd be an amazing thing for like there to be a rule that every football team should have, like, I don't want to say a green partner, but a green partner, like something that is their environmental like pledge,
right,
and something that they're backing. And in return for that backing,
it could be different things, because obviously sustainability is very kind of broad church, right? But
anything. It could be Parley for the oceans. It could be something to do with agriculture,
EVs.
Electric vehicles, like, or a good fashion brand that's really small and
so
needs
do you
support.
think that's the role? It's a really interesting point, Brett. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Do you think that's the role of those bigger organisations like a FIFA, UEFA, the FA, to sort of mandate, look, you can encourage and offer the carrot as much as possible, but sometimes, you know, no matter how often you offer it, it doesn't get taken. I wonder, do you think that that's what they can do with that power mandate a little bit more, is say, look, you know, UEFA have already done this, by the way. They said to all of their national associations, that's like the FA, you have to have a sustainability manager, or at least a lead, someone who takes that responsibility on and is nominated as such, and then you have to have a strategy. And that's what they are saying. Look, if you want to be an NA in UEFA, you want to keep your license, if you like, with us, that's what you got to do. Can others follow that lead? I
think what we're actually talking about is a little bit of systems change, rather than like a couple of people like waving the flag and trying to affect change from the outside. It needs a system change. I talk about it with fashion all the time. We need a big systems change. But I think it would literally make that shift happen straight away, and it would have a massive impact. So I think it requires someone from the governing bodies and the organisations, or like a couple of owners, couple of like, you know, chief execs, to go, I'm at this football club now, so this is how we're doing things, and we have to stand by this.
I mean, ultimately,
it takes one, and the others will follow.
We need to see the leadership from somewhere. But equally, I think the Grassroots has got a big role to play here as well, Brett. I mean, you know, it's so often considered the sort of poorer cousin of the professional game in every sense, and quite literally that sense. But the Grassroots is where you find the passion, it's where you find the commitment, it's where you find the creativity a lot of the time. And I just wonder, what can those sorts of size clubs, amateur, non-league, occasional, do to sort of show the way a little bit at that level and hope that it rises up the pyramid?
I think they can. It's something, I played non-league football for years, and I absolutely adore the communities that those clubs have. Especially, like, I played in Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire, and I'm like, you go somewhere and there's like a roaring local community, and they all gravitate towards the local football club. So whether they switch to, like, if they go, right, we're all a renewable energy football club now, and all the food that we sell is going to be plant-based, you're going to love it still, and you'll find something that you want to eat or drink, but it's all going to be plant-based. They'll go home and think, oh, I actually quite like that burger I had at the footy. Maybe I'll just buy some of them instead this week. Small changes like that impress a little local community, who impress their family, who then go and impress their local community.
It's the ripple effect there.
And it's the ripple effect of little people. And I often think, like, I'm very grateful for my following online. In the grand scheme of things, it can be very small. And there's creators who work in my industry with millions and millions of followers. but I like to say that I influence the influencers at times. So I've got a well-curated following of some important people who do affect change in the industry. And if I can impress them, they can then go and impress loads and loads of people.
In terms of apparel, because obviously we come back to the Green Football campaign, I think, when you get to Grassroots, that's when it's kind of critical, isn't it? In that, you don't have this plethora of football shirts and kit and just stuff around, because if you're a professional team, especially a Premier League team, you can just procure whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think, when it comes to the Grassroots, there's a social impact there as well, isn't there? Can they set some patterns, some habits, some attitudes almost into play that will help everyone become more circularly minded? I mean, just simply, I think, being able to collect and keep the stuff in circulation, whether it be through collection boxes, whether it be, through, you'll know this market better than me.
There's something that's coming to play in America. All 50 states have signed this in America, and it's called the right to repair. And essentially it happened with electronics, with our phones break after a year because they release a new one. And they've now made it the law that you have access to either repair or repair manuals, or access to tools so that you can do the repairs yourself, so you can keep things in the condition that they operate in for longer. This in fashion would be enormous. There's stats that when you repair a garment, it decreases the chance of you buying something new by 80%. So if I repair 5 things, rather than buy 5 new things, I'd only buy 1 more new thing. Mm-hmm. So the turnaround rate for that is, they call it displacement rate, is massive. Yeah. So if we can connect that to our football shirts, and maybe it's the right to return and therefore get a discount on the next season's shirt, knowing that that gets recycled into the new shirt would be a massive incentive. And especially now, like I could harp on about the price of football kits. They're absolutely crazy now. But having that little bit of an incentive to take something and look after it whilst you've got it for that season, and then knowing at the end of the year I can drop it off back and get something new in return.
Do you know what you should do,
It's a massive incentive.
I should just hang around the Emirates and see if you bump into Keir Starmer one of these days.
Don't talk to me.
We spoke to him for the last Green Football campaign, and he gets it.
Yeah,
he gets it. He's vegetarian as well. He senses the importance of this issue. Of course, he's got an awful lot on his plate right now.
A little bit,
of other things going on. But we've got some great ideas there. I don't see why they can't.
And I think,
they can't fly.
Do you know what? I think a lot of it comes from growing up in frugality, like working class place, Derby. I got loads of stuff from the charity shop. So for me, I'm like, I don't care if my shirt's 2 years old now. If I'm going to watch Derby play, I bought a shirt, I think 4 seasons ago. I don't care. I'm wearing it to the game. Yeah. It's still a Derby shirt. I'm still representing my team. I love the club. I'm paying for the ticket. I love the club. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing this season's shirt or not. Yeah. I know it's really tough with kids. But just trying to get them over the line with that. And I think this is why it's so amazing what Luton Town did. And it's we're sticking with our kit. We're not releasing a new kit.
Was it Brentford did that?
Really?
Yeah.
And we're gonna have this kit for 2 years again. Yeah. And that 1 year of no new stuff is massive.
And just generally on the Green Football campaign, it's called Green Football's Great Save. The idea of saving kit and trying to, find other ways rather than buying new. And there's all these, examples we've talked about. This is a chance to bring the whole football industry together in the UK for sustainability, for climate action. How important is it that football really makes the most of these moments of awareness and these opportunities?
I think it's something that we've said for years and years, and football connects everyone. You could be from different parts of the planet, have completely different views on everything else, but you roll someone a football and you're instantly connected. And I've been very lucky to witness that. Last year I went to a Syrian refugee camp and had a football match with some Syrian refugees.
Oh, wow.
It was literally the most heartwarming thing ever. Climate change affects those kids there. It affects me here. It affects absolutely everyone. So we have something that connects everyone and something that impacts everyone. And together, those things have to be in unison with working to fix the problem by, bringing people together over things that they love, so that we can all have a better life. Football is messaging, it's marketing, it is sport and it's activity and it's competition, but it transcends absolutely everything and everyone.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's the perfect sort of note to end on there. It's been just a really fun conversation with you, Brett. Thank you so much for coming in, and a real education as well. Thanks so much for being part of Playing for the Planet.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.